welcome back to another episode of Sippin G&TV. Today we're diving into Star Trek Discovery, Season 3, Episode 3. Alright. So, let's just dive into a quick recap of the episodes. So, the crew has been reunited with Michael, who we got a brief flashback of her year alone in the new universe, where she's basically been working as a courier in exchange for dilithium so she can find out more information on what happened to the Federation and the current status of the universe. During that time, she has happened upon a message from a Admiral Senatal who has asked any Federation-related people to come to Earth. So once she's reunited with the crew, she proposes that they do that. So Book comes along for the ride. They need to hide the dilithium. So his spaceship is the perfect place to hide it because he's got the tech that will kind of conceal it. And they pop that in the cargo bay, where Book is basically on deck with them. And pretty quickly they're at Earth because they still have the spore drive, so they're able to flit around the universe pretty snappily. But upon arriving on Earth, things are not as expected. We now have a Federation that's gone AWOL. It's no longer based on Earth, as they're not sure whether it's a liability, if the dilithium burn was an attack on the Federation or an accident. Earth has become very hostile and self-dependent and has basically cut itself off from the rest of the universe. And in the meantime, they're suffering from regular raids from a team of outsiders. Tem, was
Raiders.
What was the name of the leader of that? Tem, I think.
Yeah.
So basically we have a quick scene where Discovery, Earth and the Tem have to come to an agreement and
with some quick maneuvering by Michael Burham and Book to save the day.
Exactly. And then there's some peaceful discussion where they come to terms and everything ends with Discovery free to go, Earth as it were, but building some relationships with Titan, and Book heads off into the new quadrant he's in, leaving Michael behind as number 1 to Saru's captain. So there we are, all caught up. Alright guys, so we're going to head into the Aftershow now and discuss some of the talking points. But if you're interested in following us along at this Discovery journey, or you're interested in anything related to sci-fi, etc., be sure to hit the subscribe button. Alright, so let's get started. Michael's year.
It seems like she got really close with Book over that time, and she suggested a few times during the episode that she's not the same person anymore. She is and she isn't. And she suggests that she'll need some time to get back into the swing of things in terms of Starfleet and the Federation, suggesting that her values might have been challenged a bit over her year there, and we're not sure what implications this has on the overall arc of the narrative for this season.
And the episode, the way it went down, it suggests that Michael, even though from season 1 she's always kind of been one to take decisions on behalf of everyone despite her status or whatever she thought was the most logical or the best, now we're seeing a kind of higher risk taker Michael, I would say, her heading off with Book and just assuming that Discovery would just catch on to what she was doing and play along, despite not having discussed it with Saru, for example. Is kind of a new side to her in a way. I know she has taken risks in the past, but it seems like now risks are almost part of her repertoire. It's kind of a default almost, rather than...
In a way, it's kind of Georgiou-like, because when Georgiou's on the ship, she knew immediately what Michael was trying to do. And she was just on the side, just basically Saru will get it. He'll be slow to it, but he'll get it. Whereas she already knew. She was
Georgiou was there as almost like a translator. Things might not have gone down the same if Georgiou hadn't been there to translate what's going on. So it's interesting.
Not that she was that helpful. No. She was just you don't get it yet, Saru?
Well, because she was speaking in code, so Earth wouldn't catch on.
but still.
So basically, yeah, in a way, Michael is moving a little bit more towards how maybe typically Georgiou would act. So we can probably anticipate that she's going to be a little bit more secretive, or someone who's has their own agenda, working towards the same goal, but maybe has like a plan B up their sleeve that hasn't been discussed.
Maybe not as morally black and white, where it's like, you know, maybe she's more likely to compromise some values that the Federation and Starfleet hold. So
So yeah, I guess in a way she is more of a resident of this universe than the others, seeing as she's had a year head start and she's been outside of like the Federation system. So it's giving her a new perspective. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops. Obviously, she has accepted the #1 post, which suggests that she still perceives herself to be aligned with the Federation and their values, but that she'll need some more time to come around and kind of see how that ultimately fits into her viewpoints.
And it shows the trust between Saru and Michael, even without, like, even though they might be a bit of a, you know, have a strangeness between them and a distance because of the year that Michael spent there, they still trust each other implicitly. Yeah,
well, I mean, they've already lived through a lot together. I mean, from Saru's perspective, even though like Michael might not be behaving in the way she typically would, and I mean, she's only been missing a day from his perspective. So the change, like a year's change, which would have been gradual, will be more perceptible to him, because he gets to see that entire growth like pretty much instantaneously. But they have a shared history, so there's no reason for him to think that she's being compromised in any way, and it's more that she's growing as a person. As he said, he anticipates she's just growing into herself. So. And
with that said, her solution, it wasn't like she was there to just like shoot first, ask questions later either. Like, so, you know, like I know we said that Georgiou might like understand the person she's become, but at the same time her solution was a peaceful one.
Well, it did involve,
it was this,
no, it wasn't 100% peaceful. It relied on Discovery having shields strong enough to withstand Earth, in which case if the technology on Discovery hadn't held, that was the potential of 80 plus people being killed on the spot based on your hunch. So
it was very risky.
It was risky. Exactly. And I don't think the Michael of old would necessarily have taken that risk, but anyway.
But diplomacy saved the day.
Diplomacy did save the day. So yeah, in a way this was a very Star Trek episode. It kind of nothing happened and a lot happened, if that makes sense, right?
Like, as someone, you've seen a lot of classic Star Trek episodes, whereas I'm new to it, but as like someone who's into science fiction, I've heard a lot about Star Trek and, you know, the values of this universe and the Federation, Starfleet, what they stand for. So this episode seems like something that's very Star Trek-y, in that it's about, you know, talking it out, diplomacy, that kind of thing.
Well, in a way, this episode, like, obviously it was reestablishing the connection between Earth and Titan, but in a way it's also opening Earth up to the small possibility of the existence of the Federation in the future. Like, not in a very the Federation will exist again, but in a there's more than just you are not alone, and it's setting the tone for building back the Federation back up, or reestablishing some sort of alliance between planets or systems. So it's just a small step, but it kind of it gave Discovery a chance to reestablish itself as with its main core mission and kind of values.
Exactly.
All right. So speaking of Discovery and Michael, etc., so we now have established that Saru is captain, with Michael being his number one. And that was interesting because there was no discussion around it, really. Michael was just straight up like, nah, I don't want that. Even though she kind of spent a large portion of her career working towards that. But with her new perspective, she was okay to take a back seat. And Saru has stepped into the main role.
I think she also recognized that Saru has been that constant in Discovery's 3 seasons, or 2 seasons so far. And he's, every time like a captain is like, you know, out of the picture, Saru is there to step in and be that stable leader that the ship needs. So
well, I think
it's about time.
She also recognizes that Saru, out of everyone, is the most likely to hold to the Federation's values, and having him responsible for the team, the welfare, and the culture. I want to say work culture. Will give her more freedom to come to terms with whatever it is she's coming to terms with, but also some flexibility in maneuvering. She's not as number one, obviously she's like a co-manager, so she is responsible for culture, but it holds her to a less high standard, and I think she doesn't want to be held to as high a standard in some ways. So she's recognized that she's better off in a position that gives her a little bit more flexibility.
Yeah, but even in their conversation, he's basically saying that he understands what she's going through in terms of her growth, and he's there for it because he himself in season 2. Oh, he had huge. Yeah, he had a whole evolution.
I mean, he thought he was dying.
Yeah. So he is the person that she can trust to grow with. So
he has an innate understanding of that, and she was there to support that journey at the time too. So I guess there is a reversal of roles of sorts. And then the final thing of note that happened in this episode, aside from establishing like the chain of command, is that we now have a new admiral. And we have Admiral Senatal, who was the person who originally put that message out encouraging Discovery to come to Earth. And with that, we have the introduction of a new character, Adira, who presumably will be with us for the rest of the season. So she's a 16-year-old who is kind of a host to another species. And this species, essentially the host has access to the memories of the previous hosts. So Admiral Senatal was the previous host, so therefore she has access to those memories.
But she doesn't. There's something, because she's human, she can't really access it, so that'll be a plot point. She
doesn't, but she seems really bright. She's obviously going to be an asset to the engineering team, and she's probably going to be the person that's going to be able to give them information on the current state of the universe and kind of what's what. And so she'll be journeying with them as they try to find the Federation and what's left of it.
She has a very curious mind, and it was nice to see Stamets in a sort of mentorship, parental role there.
Well, he's been in a mentorship role with Tilly for ages, but I think that was kind of, he was almost like during that period, because the spore drive wasn't working properly and they were having issues, and it was probably his first time really mentoring someone of that age, because Tilly's supposed to be teens, early 20s. Well, she was early 20s, I think. She's meant to be like a not a child genius, but she's meant to be a prodigy. So I think he's learned from that, and he has Tilly to guide him on how she would have liked to be mentoring at the time versus how it actually went down. So I think Stamets will get a kind of a second shot at that in a way. And
it's cool to see a new side of him though, because often he's seen as like the cranky person.
Oh god, he's like that person who's 80 before he's 80. Like, leave me alone.
I mean, the interactions between the characters was just fun in this episode.
Stamets was just in a good mood. It's been the best mood we've seen him in, really.
And it was just fun. Period. Like, just having the characters all in one place was amazing. I think we missed that in the first 2 episodes.
We did, but now we're heading into episode 4, and again, the characters are not all together anymore. Book has gone off. He's made the decision that he doesn't obviously want to be a member of Discovery's crew. So
they don't have a fleet yet.
I mean, in a way, maybe he will become part of the fleet because he's got the other spaceship that we can rely on.
That's true.
And it kind of brings up the question, as he's headed off, where's Georgiou? So there's 3 options. She may still be on Discovery, in which case that'll become clear in the next episode. She may have just gone to Earth when everyone else went down because they got clearance to go there, so maybe she decided to hang out there.
That seems boring.
But that seems boring for her, and kind of like, where would she go from there? And then the third option, because we did see some interaction with her and Book initially in the episode, where she kind of interrogated, what's your intentions here?
Being the mother,
calculating, like, So I have a sneaky suspicion that we'll discover that she has actually kind of snuck aboard his ship and will be adventuring with him for a while, right?
That would be fun, because I think my favorite interactions with Michael are Book and Michael's like banter. They just have this like fun energy between them. Often like Michael, when we were first introduced to her in season 1, she's very like Vulcan.
Yeah, that Vulcan energy was strong.
So she's like, the other characters definitely got through some of those walls, like Tilly and all that. But I feel like this season, her interaction with Book is like fully almost like just a ping pong ball back and forth of like zingers and like,
because her last, we're gonna presume that Book is some sort of love interest. There's definitely some kind of sexual chemistry there. Her last love interest, which was Ash, was just very heavy because obviously he had a lot going on. She had a lot going on, and so this time around maybe have her having a more like a relationship that's not dependent on Starfleet, and that's also kind of a bit lighter, I guess, in a way.
And he's a catch. Like, he treats Grudge like a queen because she is a queen. And, you know...
Did you sense some jealousy from Michael?
So, you know, like, when a guy like that shows up, you know, like... Michael Burham gotta lock that down.
Well, maybe Georgiou will be working on it in the meantime, on her behalf. So basically that's the episode. So it leaves us with a couple of main questions. The first is, where did the Federation go? How long will it take Discovery to reconnect with them? And what state will they be in once they do?
What's Sahil doing? Is he still sitting in the office?
I'm pretty sure he is, And then how will Michael develop as a character going forward? How will she fit back in, or what will her role within Discovery be, like dynamic, in terms of her as a person, not her actual role. And then the final thing is, where is Georgiou? Did she go with Book? Is she on Earth, or is she in Discovery? Because the answer to that question will potentially lead to a lot of drama or fun. It's probably because she's a guest star. I'm imagining she's going to be with Book, because if she's on Discovery, it's kind of harder to hide her absence. So.
Maybe, yeah. It is interesting. At this point, it's episode 3, and we're still kind of unclear what the direction of this whole season is going to take. Right?
I'm pretty sure that the direction is find the Federation, and unless the Federation discloses some huge problem that nobody knows about, then the next thing will probably be working towards doing what the Federation did best, which is building diplomacy.
So I guess no big villain this season.
Oh, there could be. There might be, like, we might discover the burn wasn't an accident, and then in which case maybe there's going to be some action around that. But this is all speculation, so we'll just keep it to the main 3 questions of where is the Federation, how is Michael going to develop, and where is Georgiou? So that is our recap of Star Trek Discovery Season 3, Episode 3. And we'll be back next Sunday with Episode 4. Yeah, guys, originally we were doing these on Wednesdays, but then we realized it's a little bit tight to the next episode, so we're going to start airing these on Sundays. So going forward, you'll find it on Sunday. If for some reason you haven't seen our recap of episode 1 and 2 and you're curious to hear what we said, you can check it out above here. And if you're not subscribed, why aren't you subscribed?
Do it.
I'm astonished.
Well, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you again.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye.